Hello and welcome. This is Yana the Heretic, and this is my channel, The Unpopular Opinion Becoming Popular. And I'm going to be talking about the last 4 weeks under the quarter of initiation, and the theme has been the mind over the past 4 months. So this is the last month we got initiating our mind, and then we're going to start a whole new quarter. And we are filtering gate 42 this week, and gate 42 is the gate of growth and increase. The transit's going to be going on from the 10th to the 15th of April, and we are under the archetype of Janus, the god. I was like, is it really pronounced Janus? But it's spelled Janus, and it is a Greek god. And he is the god of passages. So the beginning and the end, the portal, the overseer of passage, and your passage from your past to the future. And this gate is specifically in the sacral center. And we're going to have 3 gates this month that are from the sacral center. And a little bit about that. Every single generator has their sacral center defined. The generators are about 70% of the population. That is why we have the hustle culture. I know I talk about the hustle culture and about slowing down a bit. I am a manifesting generator, so I get it, the buzz and the energy is constantly there, and you have to almost give yourself a list of priorities that you can check off, because that's what we like, especially if you don't have your root defined. Everything is a task. But the sacral center is a motor, and it is the motor for our passion, our sexuality, our pulse, our buzz. It's like that ticking in your body that makes you want to jump up and do stuff. And people that don't have this defined, they tend to run off of the generator's pulse, and that's why most people, once they get away from a social situation, they just pass the fuck out right away, because it's a lot, there's a lot of us out there with our pulses. This gate specifically is hanging on, facing the root center, and it's all about the desire to start a new cycle and the end of the cycle that you've been in. So it's pretty awesome. We're reaching the end of the quarter, and this is the end of whatever cycles you're going through. I know that last week I talked about me and my partner. We're going to finally find a new place to live that's going to be better for us and bigger, because I got a lot of projects up in here. So I'm excited to work towards that, to rope it in, because I'm really needing this sense of happier and habitat where fluidity can occur for me. So after the gate of shock, now we got the gate of growth, and everyone that has this defined, they very much like to stick to a cycle until its end. So, and the harmonic gate is the opposite of that, which can be very true for every single channel. And the opposite is the gate of, it's gate 53, the gate of new beginnings, or the gate of beginnings. And that is the type of human that wants to try new experiences out, so much so that they don't finish any of them. So gate 42 is definitely hopefully entering a cycle that's going to bring them more satisfaction instead of frustration. So what that looks like is, okay, you're entering a situation when you're frantic, you're distressed, you're desperate, and you're just like hanging on to that because you have to, because that's the only option you have. And you enter that situation that way, and there's a likelihood of exiting that situation in the same way. So that's very true for me. I know that in a lot of living situations, I enter them with desperation, especially during COVID. I'm not even going to get started on that, but yeah, and then it ends like horribly. So I don't have gate 42, but that's another thing that can happen if you make a decision from this sacral energy that's going to be happening. You enter a new cycle and your response was there. There's a potential, if your sacral is not defined, that you're going to be pulsing this energy, but then once it's gone, you're going to be like, oh man, like I committed to this thing and I actually feel pretty burnt out. Or it was fun for the first 3 weeks and I tried and I'm good. Like I'm good with it. I don't want to do that. So if you find that you enter a cycle and you want to try something new this week, it's okay if it doesn't work out, because we're pulsing this energy that we want to continue this cycle, which is only consistent truly for the 42. They have tremendous staying power for anything that they hope to do, especially if there's a contract involved, like a marriage, or, potentially a contract to, get more wealth in the future, like Social Security or something. It's like, oh yeah, well, we'll get all that wealth later, but eventually the cycles come to an end, and that's where maturity comes from. So, the gate of growth is about growing through the lessons that were thrown at you. You had a response to something. You may not have that response any longer. You've lived through it. You've experienced it. What people say is your third line phase, which typically strikes when you're 30. You're just like, holy shit, that used to be me, but that's not me anymore. Yeah. So it is exciting to think about what new chapters can happen, and just kind of streamlining on this energy field, and hopefully landing in a place where we responded to something with satisfaction, and then that cycle brings satisfaction. So yeah, I know that growth is also organic, so you don't have to think about some growth like when you're growing into being a teenager, you're growing your teeth in, whatever it is, that's the natural kind of growth that you see. And there's an abstract concept to this gate. It's the abstract sensing circuit. So you're sensitive to the lessons that you've learned. You're reminiscing. It's almost like you're not quite through the portal. You're just about to enter, but you're still thinking about all the things that you're leaving behind. All of the energy that was spent in that habitat that you stayed in. All of your hard work and memories and people that, you ignited with your energy. Like, all of that is going away, and you're starting a completely new thing. So it's definitely challenging, because if you think about it, like, for example, like, I'm moving, and I'm thinking, like, wow, like, it's been quite a journey. Like, I've been 3 years in this dwelling, or over 3 years now, and a lot of things have transpired here. And for anyone that knows me, it's had its ups and downs for sure. And the path is finally clear, which is really rewarding. But it also feels bittersweet and sad, in some ways, because you never know what you're going to do. Like, some people that end jobs, they don't see those people ever again. You see maybe your high school reunion like 10 years, every 10 years or something, like, if you even do that. But yeah, there's a bittersweet concept to it. Yeah, and I think that the reason why we're so, like, busy is because of the generators, right? So we are meant to trust the response. All the sacral generators especially, but we're meant to respond to life coming at us, and as long as we can refine that truth and that voice, we can really trust that our guttural sounds, like or in response to a yes or no question, is really going to actually get us somewhere. And it's going to make the hard decisions much easier if you learn to trust your body rather than your mind. We talk a lot about not so much rejecting the mind, but allowing it to ride passenger. So it being a force of inspiration, a force of data, memory, storage. But when it's trying to tell you, when you're on the road and you're like, what happens if I swerve too hard, into the intersection? Like, that's what the mind does. So, you don't want to subdue to its trickery sometimes, But, yeah, we got Janus protecting our passage, and I'm excited to know more about this archetype and what he holds, what secrets and symbolism that he has for us the next month. I hope you enjoy it. I hope that this boost of energy is going to be exactly what you need to get whatever it is done. And it's perfect timing for the sun to come out. Hopefully you got some sun coming through. I'm in Seattle, so yeah, it's been a moody train ride. So, but I'm glad that I'm getting to see some sun and rainbows and shit, So yeah, well, enough of this jibber jabber. I'm just gonna read you all the questions of the week. What has ended for you? Did it end better than you thought? Was it neutral? Was it worse than you thought? Write down how you started the cycle and note that if it was frantic or desperate. It's okay if it was. This is for growth and understanding the contrast. If you don't go through hard things, you'll never really have the strength to, survive as you. All these fears are meant to teach us something about ourselves. And if you don't try it, you'll never really know what you're capable of. Who do you know that sticks to a really, really long goal, like a master's degree or a bachelor's degree? Are you envious of that tremendous staying power, or are you happy how often you sample experiences? So, all my life, I potentially really felt envious of those people that can sit down and like paint or do art. You know, I was so frantically like OCD, ADHD. Not as like debilitating labels. I'm not a labeler like that, but just for reference, like high energy, high mind, obviously didn't know how to like fully sit in my body. So, I always felt pretty envious of the people that could, because they did master things. So, if you know somebody like that, there is an inspiration to that. And it's not just like fractions of puzzle pieces, it's an actual whole piece, part of the tapestry. So, yeah. The full moon is in Libra tonight in the Pacific Northwest. Do you feel this shift holds a rebalancing effect? So I have Libra as my ascendant, and I have Virgo sun and a Pisces moon. So everything in my life has been balance, like as above, so below, and just figuring out what that means to me, to this body, to this resonance that is my soul. What does that look like for you? List all of the repeating cycles in your life and mark which ones you are wanting to end. This can be mental, spiritual, and emotional blocks. Having these goals written down will shed opportunity into your field to expand the old mechanism of response. So, there's things that I try to conquer every year, and they can be subtle things. Like this year for me has been about understanding my subconscious or the unconscious state and being able to master that. And I'm sure it'll take years and years to understand, going through Carl Jung's work, going through like Don Juan's work, like understanding the dream state and what it can teach us, and how we can see energy. We could come from that sleep with a whole different view of energy. So what are you trying to conquer? Because like the subconscious and unconscious states, they are full of energy that affects us, whether or not you're aware of it. And it's going to be a really amazing journey. I'm sure you'll hear about it more. Being able to understand the dreams and the chaos and the lack of memory of them and who causes that to happen. But regardless, whatever it may be that you're trying to conquer, you can write it down. If you're a generator, you're pulsing that out. You're trying to find answers. You'll get little pieces handed to you from all types of people in the world. And I hope that you find that. There aren't very many other channels this week. We got the channel of inspiration. It's being a creative role model. Other than that, we don't have the whole channel of maturation this week, which would be the 5342. The 53 basically ignites you to stay with your experience, to find more inspiration within that cycle. But regardless, you're still going to end something and you're still going to begin something. And it's up to you to really see and be aware of Am I starting this cycle, this contract, this agreement from a good place? Will I have the willpower to sustain this contract or, schooling? It might help you, might save you money, or it might not be a big deal. So that is for you to assess. And with great fortune, may you find everything you're looking for. And I'll see you all next week. Hit up electromagneticidentity.com. Don't forget to book your appointments. I don't say subscribe and save, but I guess subscribe, leave a review, whatever you may. It would greatly help. Thanks, guys.